Picture this, a massive Ford plant in the bluegrass state, early 2021, where the assembly line screeches to a halt like a bad action movie cliffhanger. Robotic arms dangle like limp noodles, conveyor belts collect cobwebs under those unforgiving factory lights. Hundreds of unfinished F-150 trucks sprawl across overflow lots, each one a $50,000 revenue ghost haunting shareholders' dreams. Dealerships jack up used car prices 20%, squeezing margins while everyday investors watch their auto portfolios nosedive. Wall Street's reaction? Ford shares plummet 8% in days. GM joins the party with a 10% dip, erasing billions from the sector's market cap. This wasn't your typical bear market bloodbath. It was the great chip famine, exposing how one tiny silicon sliver could choke global supply chains and dent US GDP by $240 billion. But hey, was this just a teaser trailer? Fast forward to January 2026. The US-Taiwan trade pact pumps $500 billion into fortifying American chip production, a Wall Street win designed to shield against future meltdowns. Still, with China grumbling about rare earth curbs and tensions bubbling in the Taiwan Strait, those same chain cracks linger, now supercharged by insatiable AI hunger. What if the next hit isn't a virus or storm, but a geopolitical showdown sending the Nasdaq into a tailspin? Subscribe to the Wall Street Channel, a financial channel, and hit that bell to snag the intel that turns market mayhem into your next big trade. Semiconductors, they're not just the crunchy bits in your snack drawer anymore. They're the invisible muscle powering Wall Street's tech behemoths, from moonshot valuations to everyday gadgets. Let's rewind to the post-World War II boomtown era, when American brainpower lit the fuse on this trillion-dollar fireworks show. Back in 1947, a trio of Bell Labs geniuses, John Bardeen, Walter Brattain, and William Shockley, unveiled the transistor, a humble germanium nugget that ditched those clunky vacuum tubes for lightning-fast signal boosting. Yields were a joke at 5%, but Uncle Sam, locked in Cold War paranoia, dumped cash into it for missile guidance and radar wizardry, elevating silicon from lab curiosity to national security must-have. Fast forward to 1959, and Fairchild Semiconductor's Robert Noyce crams multiple transistors onto one chip, kicking off the integrated circuit revolution. These bad boys fueled everything from NASA's Apollo triumphs to those brick-sized calculators, sending stocks soaring for early movers like Texas Instruments. It's like the Wild West of tech, innovators striking gold in Silicon Valley garages. But hold your horses, the plot thickens when Japan rides into town. Fresh from post-war rubble, Tokyo funnels government muscle into electronics, turning consumer gadgets into an export juggernaut. By the swinging 70s, heavyweights like NEC and Toshiba swamp global markets with dirt-cheap DRAM chips, hacking away at US supremacy from 82% market share in 1975 to under 50% by 1985. Wall Street feels the burn. Intel's margins get squeezed amid cries of dumping, selling below cost to kneecap the competition. Enter the 1986 US-Japan Semiconductor Agreement, a classic tariff tussle straight out of a trade war thriller. DC slaps on 20% market share caps, forces price monitoring to stomp out undercutting, and pries open Japanese doors for Yankee chips. Prices rocket 30 to 50% worldwide, dinging consumer electronics stocks, but buying breathing room for American firms. Sound familiar? It's the blueprint for today's friendshoring plays, but with a libertarian twist. Government meddling jacks up costs for everyone down the line, breeding complacency while Japan pivots to LCD dominance. Dark humor. Bureaucrats saving free markets, one tariff at a time. Now meet Morris Chang, the unsung hero who flicked the script on chipmaking, like a Wall Street disruptor crashing the old boys club. Born in 1931 amid China's wartime chaos, Chang dodges bombs and flees to Hong Kong as a teen, then chases the American dream to MIT and Stanford. Lands at Texas Instruments in 1958, grinding through yield tweaks under desk lamps, mastering the learning curve that slashes costs 30% with each production double. Climbs to VP by 1983, but gets snubbed for CEO. Whispers of cultural bias sting like a bad trade. He bounces to General Instrument, only to bail on the red tape. Taiwan swoops in 1985, recruiting the 54-year-old expat to spearhead their tech glow-up. With $220 million government seed money and Felix tech licensing, Chang launches Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, TSMC, in 1987. Early days, brutal. Yields limp at 30%, engineers swept through marathon shifts in makeshift cleanrooms, but Chang's data-obsessed regime, bonuses for hitting targets, axes for misses, builds a precision powerhouse. By the 90s, even Intel outsources overflow, proving TSMC's pure-play foundry model. Crank out chips for others, no designs of your own. Wall Street lesson: this outsourcing magic lets fabulous stars like Nvidia focus on blueprints, exploding valuations without the billion-dollar factory drag. TSMC didn't just play the game, it rewrote the rulebook, leaving integrated giants like Intel in the dust, while snagging 90% of the world's advanced nodes by the 2000s. But concentration's a double-edged sword, as historian Chris Miller lays out in his 2022 bestseller, Chip War. Miller, an associate professor at Tufts University's Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, and a go-to expert on tech geopolitics, paints semis as the new oil in the US-China showdown. Slippery, strategic, and prone to spills. Beijing hungers for Taiwan's chips to fuel EVs and military might, all while eyeing reunification. Washington fights back with the 2022 CHIPS Act, dangling $52 billion in subsidies to lure TSMC stateside, ballooning commitments to $165 billion by 2025. Enter Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, dubbing the January 2026 deal America First in a nod to reshoring glory. Breakdown: Taiwan caps tariffs at 15%, down from 20%, zeroes out duties on generics and aircraft parts. In swap, Taiwanese firms pledged $250 billion in direct US fab investments. TSMC alone coughing up $100 billion, matched by another $250 billion in credit guarantees. Goal: shift 40% of Taiwan's supply chain to American soil by 2030, creating industrial parks in Arizona, Texas, and Ohio. Market pop: TSMC shares spike 5% post-announcement, with Bank of America's Vivek Arya, a top-rated semis analyst, calling for global semi-sales to smash $1 trillion in 2026, up 30% year-over-year on AI frenzy. The 2021 nightmare was Wall Street's wake-up slap, proving how one hiccup in this silicon lifeline can tank trillions. COVID clamps down on Malaysian packaging hubs, 13% of global output, while Taiwanese fabs battle outbreaks in humidity-controlled bunkers. Carmakers spooked by 2020 slumps, slash orders. Chipmakers flip to red-hot laptops surging 30% from remote work mania. Boom, autos rebound into barren queues. Ford stashes 100,000 F-150s in Kentucky fields, vaporizing $5 billion in revenue and dragging shares down 8%. GM shutters plants, stock slides 10%. The ripple: $240 billion US GDP hit curve. Electronics chaos. PlayStation scalpers double MSRPs, pinching Sony's profits. Appliance kings like Whirlpool hike prices 15%, boosting shares short-term. But bullwhip echoes drag shortages into 2023. Broader market jitters: auto sector bleeds $210 billion, 11 million vehicles left unborn. It's like a bad poker hand: fold early, regret forever. History's ghosts haunt these halls. The 80s Japan Pact steadied US shares for a hot minute, but bred lazy giants, leading to Silicon Valley layoffs and retraining scrambles. 2018's Huawei bans jack costs 20%, forking supply chains, classic prelude to today's pacts. Post-2026 vibes: China blasts rare earth restrictions, vital for chip magnets, but their top dog, Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation, SMIC, Beijing's partially state-owned foundry heavyweight, trails at 7nm nodes, while TSMC blazes 2nm trails. US scores: 20,000 jobs sprout in Texas and Ohio hubs, juicing local REITs like Realty Income. Arizona housing surges 25%, turning desert dust into real estate gold. But AllianceBernstein's Mark Delaney, a sharp-eyed analyst covering autos and semis, warns of EV margin crunches from pricier chips. IO Fund's Beth Kindig spotlights AI memory demand, fueling 30% growth, yet flags bubble risks. Big Tech's $602 billion 2026 splurge lifts S&P margins a measly 0.3%, echoing dot-com deja vu. Bernstein researcher Stacy Rasgon echoes the caution, noting AI overbuild parallels to past hype cycles. Wall Street implications: a cascade of opportunity and landmines. US ramps up resilience. New clusters wrestle 3-nanometer gremlins amid desert heat, but chips run 20 to 30% steeper, nibbling at EV giants like Tesla's bottom line. Forecasts roll in hot. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, the leather-jacketed visionary, touts AI as the next industrial revolution, with his firm's GPUs gobbling TSMC capacity. Broadcom's Hock Tan chimes in, projecting custom AI chips to hit $20 billion in 2026 revenue. But SMIC's lag? It's China's Achilles heel. State-backed billions poured in, yet yields in tech trail global leaders, leaving Beijing reliant on imports amid export curbs. U.S. inequalities sharpen. Arizona's fad boom displaces locals with rent hikes, while rural Ohio REITs like Simon Property Group ride the wave. Parallels to 2021's bullwhip? Spot on, mirroring 80s volatility. Today's splits could spike AI costs for mid-cap players like Advanced Micro Devices, forcing savvy hedging. Ongoing U.S. echoes sting. Post-2021, auto stocks like Ford swing like pendulums in volatile winds. The 2026 deal widens gaps. Arizona explodes with fab jobs, but water wars hammer ag stocks like Archer Daniels Midland. Sufferings? That $240 billion GDP scar from 21 festers in diversified portfolios. 2026 reshuffles diner budgets amid chip-fueled inflation pinches. Yet, rural revivals lift airy ITs like Prologis, turning flyover states into tech hubs. In essence, the 2026 pact cements U.S. silicon supremacy, hauling Taiwan's might westward while unmasking fresh market rifts. China's maneuvers unchecked, costs ascending, valuations taut as a drum. It evades near-term squeezes, but primes deeper threats. A cyber assault crippling grids, or straight strife shattering semis. The links we reinforce today might shatter tomorrow, flipping bull markets to bear pitfalls. So, what do you think about this new trade deal?